The Bobby Orr story happened, he had graduated from high school and he was thinking of going to college. He wanted to go to Wentworth Institute of Technology in town. They suggested that he come in and try out for the team. And he was absolutely the tiniest kid on the ice. I mean, they were all giants, but he was like a little flea. They couldn't catch him. And I was sitting up in the stands way back, and I'm watching, concentrating on him. And the guy next to me, about 2 seats down, says, "Boy, that kid can fly. It'd be great if he was bigger." And I turned to look at who it was, and it was Bobby Orr. So he was talking about my boy, you know. So I was thrilled, and he really appreciated the kid's hockey skills. But he knew where he stood. He was small. He was tiny. Didn't stop him from playing, and eventually he played in the international hockey when he went in the service and played overseas so.
Bret, 5 foot, nothing tall, outgoing, friendly, played hockey together in the same shop.
He was a funny kid. I mean, I could use other words, but he was a funny kid. We were really, really close when we were little. When we were little, we were really close. And then, you know, because he was my little brother, I didn't want him hanging around with me and my friends. We did become closer as we got older, too, as we lived apart from each other, so, yeah.
He had matches in his back pocket, and somehow these matches lit on fire, and next thing you know, you see Bret get up, run out the door, and scream, and teacher's like, "Where you going?" Smoke's falling him behind his butt. He just runs out.
He wanted to go to college, but then he decided that he wanted to go into the Air Force.
I know that he was going to the Air Force and stuff, and I tried talking him out of it.
But he wanted it so bad, he wanted to do it so bad that my father signed him up, and my father unfortunately blames himself for that, but it's not his fault. Because when Bret put his mind to something, he did it. Freaking moss everywhere. Yep, so this is where my brother, your uncle, is buried. When he was the first one in this section. And it was kind of depressing to see him be he was the only headstone here. He was the only grave here for a long, long time. And we didn't like how close he was to the road. It was upsetting. So I didn't come here for a long time. But now that there's a lot of other graves here, it's not as depressing, I guess.
He was supposed to be home. He was always very punctual with me, and called me the night before and said he'd be on such and such a flight. I was there early waiting for him. And I waited a couple of hours past the time his flight was in, and his flight was there and nobody got off it. And so I started making phone calls, and they said his ticket hadn't been used.
I didn't realize that he was supposed to be home. It was supposed to be a surprise. But when my father called me and said that he went to the airport and my brother wasn't there, I was like, oh, we're gonna hear from him tomorrow and he's gonna go, oh, I fell asleep at this girl's house and blah blah blah, and so I didn't think anything of it, to be perfectly honest with you. And then I went home, and then the next morning is when I realized that he was gone, and he was missing.
He asked a person that he knew to give him a ride to the airport, and that person took his life. He was involved with some shady stuff in the service, and he thought maybe that Bret would say something to somebody. And so they had an argument. I want to say I don't know exactly what happened. All I can understand from the police that they had an argument and he killed him.
I was so mad. I was angry that somebody would hurt somebody that I loved.
Oh, I was crushed. That whole period of time was probably the toughest time I've had to deal with in my whole life.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I will never forget. Seeing my friend come out of a casket and go in and be buried up in Pine Grove Cemetery.
When we went to the funeral, the hockey team was lined up in their shirts on both sides of the church, and it just, like, I just lost it. I couldn't, you know.
He didn't deserve it. He was too nice a person to, he would give you the shirt off his back.
I see you guys, you and your sisters, and sometimes I'm like, oh my God. You know, like I think of Bret, or I think of that's something Bret would do, or, you know, he would have got a kick out of, or, you know, yeah. So, and we look at old pictures sometimes and I think, oh my God, Delaney looks so much like Bret sometimes, and you look so much, and then Morgan, she's so sarcastic like he was, and you know, it just, I wish he could have met you guys, because he would have had such a good time with you guys.
I go up and visit the grave all the time, and I still think about him constantly, and I have his pictures in the house, and he's just always on my mind.